I used to think being the stable one was a virtue. Turns out it's also a role people cast you in so they can replace you without guilt. The snow started falling around 3 that Christmas afternoon, fat flakes drifting past the dining room windows like they had nowhere better to be. I watched them while pretending to listen to Blythe's sister drone on about her timeshare in Florida. The turkey sat in the center of the table, golden and glistening, surrounded by dishes I'd spent the morning preparing while my wife checked her phone every 90 seconds. Blythe wore the emerald dress I'd bought her for her birthday. She'd barely thanked me for it then. Now she moved through the room like she was hosting a fundraiser, touching shoulders, laughing at the right moments, performing the role of gracious hostess. Her blonde hair caught the candlelight. She looked beautiful. She always did when other people were watching. I sat at the far end of the table, the spot I'd occupied for 6 years. The spot that came with responsibilities, carving the turkey, refilling wine glasses, keeping the conversation moving when it stalled. I was good at being useful. I'd built a career on it. Cybersecurity consulting for small businesses, municipal contracts, the kind of work that kept the lights on and the trust fund growing but never earned me a seat at the interesting conversations. Mara sat 3 chairs down, 16 years old and armed with the particular cruelty teenagers discover like a new app. She'd been cold to me for months, ever since Blythe started mentioning her real father in casual sentences that felt like paper cuts. Kellen this, Kellen that. Kellen who disappeared when Mara was 2 and suddenly wanted back in now that there was something worth coming back for. The doorbell rang. Blythe jumped up like she'd been shocked. "That'll be Kellen," she said brightly. "Everyone, please make him feel welcome." I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Just a quiet recognition, like watching the first crack appear in ice you're standing on. Kellen Voss walked in wearing a leather jacket and the smile of a man who'd never paid for his own mistakes. 38. Charismatic in that dangerous way that makes people overlook the wreckage. He hugged Mara first, long and theatrical, then moved around the table accepting introductions like he was the guest of honor. When he reached me, he extended his hand. "Eamon, right? Heard a lot about you." "Funny," I said. "I haven't heard much about you at all." His smile didn't waver. "Well, I'm back now." Blythe appeared at his elbow, radiant. "Kellen, let me show you where you'll be sitting." She led him to my end of the table, to my chair. "Actually," I started, but Blythe cut me off with a look I'd seen 100 times. The look that said, "Don't make this difficult." "Move," she said, her voice light but her eyes flat. "This seat is reserved for my ex, my daughter's real father." The room went quiet. Someone's fork clinked against china. The snow kept falling outside, indifferent. I stood slowly, carefully, like a man getting up from a church pew. "What exactly is happening here?" Mara's voice cut across the table, sharp as broken glass. "If you're not satisfied, get out." I looked at her, looked at Blythe, looked at Kellen settling into my chair like he'd bought it at an estate sale. Nobody spoke. The turkey sat there between us, cooling, and I thought how even the bird looked embarrassed for me. "All right," I said quietly. I walked to the hall closet and pulled on my coat. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd expected them to shake. Blythe called after me, her voice tinged with exasperation. "Eamon, don't be dramatic. We'll talk when you calm down." I didn't answer. I stepped out into the cold and pulled the door shut behind me. The snow had started to accumulate on the walkway. My footprints were the only marks. I sat in my car in the driveway for a long time, engine off, watching my breath fog the windshield. The house glowed warm behind me, all those windows lit up like a stage I'd been kicked off of. I could see shadows moving inside. Laughter, probably. Relief that the awkward part was over. I opened my phone and created a new note, titled it "Return to Sender." Then I started typing. "Remove Blythe from credit card accounts. Done." 3 clicks, 1 confirmation email. She'd been an authorized user on 2 cards, both in my name. The spending limit she'd treated like an allowance, gone. Freeze joint spending. I opened my banking app, moved my direct deposit to the business account I'd set up 2 years ago for contract work. The joint account would see nothing but silence from now on. Change passwords, streaming services, cell plan admin, smart lock, security cameras. I worked methodically, noting each change in my list. Every keystroke felt like closing a door. I scheduled the locksmith for 8 the next morning. The house was in my family trust, established before we married. Blythe had never been on the deed. I'd always meant to add her. Funny how I'd never gotten around to it. My phone buzzed. A text from Blythe. "Don't be dramatic. We'll talk when you calm down." I smiled. The point was, there would be no talk. I started the car and backed out of the driveway. In my rearview mirror, the house looked smaller than I remembered. A snow-covered box full of people who'd decided I was replaceable. You wanted me out of the picture, I thought. Fine. Let's see how you like the frame without me. My phone started buzzing again. Once, twice, 5 times, 10. I turned it face down on the passenger seat and drove toward Rowan's place on the edge of town, where the streetlights thinned out and the snow fell harder. The missed calls counter climbed. By the time I parked in front of Rowan's towing yard, it read 35. Rowan Pike's spare room smelled like motor oil and old coffee. I sat on the edge of the fold-out couch, staring at my phone screen. 37 missed calls now, texts flooding in faster than I could read them. Eamon, please. We need to talk. This is childish. You're overreacting? Think about Mara. I set the phone down and looked up. Rowan stood in the doorway, arms crossed, wearing the same canvas jacket he'd had since high school. 41 years old, built like a man who moved heavy things for a living, with a face that had seen enough to stop asking questions about other people's problems. She kick you out? He asked. Not exactly. They gave my chair to her ex. Rowan's expression didn't change. At Christmas dinner? At Christmas dinner? He walked to the mini-fridge, pulled out 2 beers, handed me one. So they kicked you out of your own life. Now kick them out of their options. I took a long drink. The beer was cheap and cold, and exactly what I needed. I already started. Cards, accounts, passwords. The house locks get changed tomorrow. Good. Rowan sat in the ancient recliner across from me. What about proof? You know, that she's cheating? I laughed, but it came out wrong. I don't need a detective. I just need to look at what's already there. I pulled up our joint credit card statement on my phone, scrolled through December. There, a hotel charge 2 towns over, night of the 14th. The Foundation holiday donor reception had been in town that night. I remembered because Blythe had come home at 2 a.m, smelling like wine and making excuses about networking. I kept scrolling. A jewelry purchase from a boutique I'd never heard of, $200. I hadn't received any jewelry. Another hotel, different town, November 23rd. A late-night gas station charge 30 miles from our house when Blythe had supposedly been at a strategy meeting that ran late. Rowan leaned forward. Pattern? More like a schedule. I showed him the screen. Every other week, sometimes more. Always on nights she said she was working. My phone buzzed again. Text from Sloan, Blythe's best friend and co-conspirator in all things cruel. You're making a huge mistake. Think about what this does to Mara. I showed Rowan. He snorted. Sloan Mercer. That woman could teach a masterclass in manipulation. She's been encouraging this, I said. I can feel it. Every time Blythe came home with a new rationalization for treating me like furniture, it had Sloane's fingerprints on it. I opened the family tablet, one of those shared devices we'd set up for calendar syncing and grocery lists. Blythe wasn't tech-savvy enough to know how to properly delete things. There, in the archived calendar events. Foundation Overnight Retreat, Woodbridge Inn. I clicked it. 2-day event. December 14th and 15th. Except the Foundation's website showed their actual retreat had been in September. Rowan stood up and walked to the window. Snow fell in steady sheets now, coating his tow trucks in the yard below. You know who she's with? I have a guess. I pulled up Facebook, found Calder Knox's profile. Firefighter. EMT. Local hero type, all square jaw and easy smiles. His latest post was a gym selfie with the caption, "Stay ready so you don't have to get ready." Calder Knox, Rowan said, reading over my shoulder. Yeah, that tracks. Guy's been flashing new toys lately. New truck, new watch. I towed his old beater last year. He was 3 months behind on payments. Something cold settled in my stomach. He's been spending. Your money, probably. I thought about Blythe's sudden interest in my trust documents. Her casual questions about the properties I managed, the rental income, the LLC structure, the way she'd started mentioning simplifying our finances and making sure everything was organized. I need to see them together, I said. Rowan turned. Bad idea. I need to see it. I stood up, grabbed my coat. The Woodbridge Inn, that's where the hotel charge was from. Eamon, I'm not going to fight him. I'm just going to look. Rowan studied me for a long moment, then sighed. Take the truck. Less conspicuous than your sedan. And for God's sake, don't do anything that gets you locked up. 20 minutes later, I was parked at the edge of the Woodbridge Inn parking lot, engine running for heat, watching my breath fog the windshield. The hotel was one of those renovated colonial places that charge $200 a night for rooms with exposed beams and complimentary wine. Blythe's Lexus sat in the third row. I recognized the parking sticker from her gym. I waited. Snow accumulated on the hood of Rowan's truck. A couple walked out bundled in scarves, laughing. A family loaded luggage into a minivan. Normal people doing normal things. Then I saw them. Calder appeared first, walking with that loose confidence men get when they're used to being admired. He wore a leather jacket and moved like the cold didn't touch him. Blythe followed a few steps behind, carrying her overnight bag. They met at her car. He said something. She laughed and leaned into him. He put his hand on her lower back, casual and possessive, and walked her to the driver's side. They didn't embrace. They didn't need to. The body language told the whole story. I took a breath, opened the truck door, and stepped out. My boots crunched in the snow. Calder heard it and turned. His eyes found me across the lot. Something flickered in his expression. Recognition, calculation, then dismissal. He smiled. I walked toward them. Blythe saw me and froze, her face going pale. Eamon? Don't. I stopped 6 feet away. I'm not here to make a scene. Calder stepped slightly in front of Blythe, all protective instinct and ego. Maybe you should leave. I'm in a public parking lot, I said calmly, and you're standing next to my wife. Your wife who doesn't want you here. I looked at Blythe. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her hand gripped the car door handle like it was the only solid thing in the world. How long? I asked her. Eamon, please. How long? She opened her mouth, closed it. Calder answered for her. Does it matter? I turned to him, looked at him properly for the first time, saw the smirk, the confidence, the absolute certainty that he'd won something, and I felt something snap into place, clean and surgical. I stepped forward and attacked. Not a punch. An open-handed strike across his face, sharp and humiliating, the kind of thing you do to a child throwing a tantrum. The sound cracked through the parking lot. Calder stumbled back, more from shock than force. His hand went to his cheek. His eyes went wide, then dark. You piece of... I was already walking back to the truck. Didn't run, didn't hurry. Just walked like a man who'd returned a borrowed book. Behind me, Calder shouted something. I heard boots crunching snow, faster now. I got to the truck, climbed in, started the engine. Calder caught up, stood in front of the hood, chest heaving. He pulled out his phone and took a picture of the license plate. I rolled down the window. You done? You don't know who you're messing with, he said. I put the truck in gear. I didn't, but I was about to. I drove away slowly, watching him in the rearview mirror. He stood there in the snow, hand still pressed to his face, looking small and furious. My phone buzzed. Notification from the smart lock app. Manual reset attempted. Someone was trying to lock me out of my own house. I smiled and kept driving. The locksmith's van pulled up at 7:50 in the morning, right on schedule. I'd been waiting in Rowan's truck across the street, drinking gas station coffee that tasted like regret, watching the house wake up. Lights had been on since 6, shadows moving behind curtains. The ordinary rhythms of a Thursday morning, except nothing was ordinary anymore. I met the locksmith, a tired-looking guy named Pete who'd done work for my business clients before, at the front walk. All the exterior doors? He asked. Everything, front, back, garage. And I want the smart lock reprogrammed. You got documentation? Deed or lease? I handed him the folder. Property deed. LLC formation documents. Everything showing the house was held in the Hart Family Trust, established 3 years before I'd married Blythe. Pete glanced through it and nodded. You're good. Should take about an hour. The front door opened. Blythe stood there in her robe, looking like she'd slept poorly. Behind her, Kellen appeared, casual and smirking, like he lived there. Eamon, what are you doing? Blythe's voice had that controlled quality she used during donor calls. Changing the locks. You can't do that. It's my house. It's our house. I showed her the deed. Actually, it's the trust's house. You were never added. I kept meaning to, but I shrugged. Here we are. Kellen stepped forward. He wore one of my shirts. My shirt. From my closet. The casual violation of it made my jaw tight. This is harassment, he said. This is property management. I turned to Pete. Go ahead. Pete started work on the front door. The drill whined. Blythe's face shifted through several expressions. Confusion, anger, calculation. Eamon, please. Let's talk inside. Privately. We can talk right here. She glanced at Pete, at the neighbors' houses, Anywhere but at me. Fine. You're upset. I understand. But kicking us out isn't... I'm not kicking anyone out. I'm securing the property and retrieving my personal items. You can stay until we formalize arrangements. But you're not locking me out. Mara appeared in the doorway, sleep-rumpled and angry. You can't do this. Morning, Mara. You're not even my real father. The words came out practiced, like she'd rehearsed them. I looked at her, really looked at her. 16 years old, I'd taught her to ride a bike, helped with algebra homework, paid for the orthodontist, the phone, the laptop, the summer camp where she'd met her best friend. No, I said quietly, but I was the one who showed up. Her face crumpled slightly, then hardened again. Kellen put his hand on her shoulder, supportive father of the year, and I felt that cold thing in my chest grow colder. I walked past them into the house, went straight to my office. The trust binder sat on the shelf where I'd left it, along with my passport, birth certificate, and the legal documents for the rental properties. Blythe followed me. Eamon, wait. Before you do anything else... She pulled a paper from her robe pocket. I need you to sign this. I took it. A single page, dense with legal language, something about restructuring the trust for tax efficiency and simplified management. Where'd you get this? The accountant suggested it. It's routine. I read it carefully. Buried in the third paragraph, a clause transferring management authority to a board of trustees, including Blythe and Kellen Voss. My laugh came out sharp. Kellen's on this? He has experience with estate planning. He's trying to steal my assets. That's paranoid. I pulled out my phone and took a picture of the document, front and back. I'll have my lawyer review it. It's just paperwork. Then it can wait. I gathered the binder, the documents, my laptop. Blythe stood in the doorway, blocking it. Move, I said, not until we talk about this reasonably. I am being reasonable. From now on, all communication goes through email, written trail, clean and simple. Her eyes narrowed. You're being cruel. I'm being clear. Kellen appeared behind her. Sign the document and we can all move forward. I looked at him wearing my shirt in my house, trying to steal my property, and smiled. No. I walked past them, went upstairs, packed a duffel with clothes and toiletries. When I came back down, Pete had finished the front door and moved to the back entrance. I stopped in the living room. Blythe and Kellen stood together, a united front, and I saw it clearly now. The coordination, the planning, the way she'd been softening me up for months with comments about our future and simplifying things. This was always the play, wasn't it? I said. The cheating, bringing Kellen back, making me feel replaced. Also, I'd be broken enough to sign whatever you put in front of me. You're being paranoid, Blythe said, but her voice wavered. The trust owns this house. It owns the duplex on Miller Street and the commercial unit on Oak. I'm guessing you found out about that from the LLC filings. Kellen shifted. People change their estate plans all the time. People, sure, but I wasn't going to change mine, so you needed me to feel desperate. Blythe's face went pale. That's not... How much did you tell him? About the properties, the rental income, the reserves? She didn't answer. I walked to the door. Pete was finishing up, wiping down the new deadbolt. All set, he said. Here are the keys, 3 copies. I'll send the invoice to your business email. Perfect. I handed him cash as a tip, then turned back to Blythe. She stood frozen in the hallway, watching me hold the only keys to the house she'd been living in. What do we do now? She asked, and for the first time she sounded genuinely uncertain. You figure it out. I headed to my car, loaded the duffel and documents. Blythe appeared on the porch. Eamon, wait. She reached for her purse, pulled out a credit card, probably planning to make some point about independence. She tried to hand it to me, then seemed to remember something and pulled her phone instead. I saw her face change as she checked her banking app. What did you do? Exactly what I said I'd do. Revoked your access. You can't... I can. The cards were in my name. The joint account sees my income. And I rerouted it. That's financial manipulation. That's financial management. Kellen came out, phone in hand. Blythe, your cards declined. She stared at me. You're trying to control me. No, I'm removing myself from your finances. There's a difference. I got in my car. Through the windshield, I watched them. Blythe furious, Kellen calculating, Mara emerging to see what the shouting was about. And I felt nothing but a clean, calm clarity. My phone buzzed. Text from Sloan. You're going to regret this. I smiled and backed out of the driveway. In the rearview mirror, they stood together on the porch, looking at the house they could no longer access without permission. My phone rang. Rowan. Yeah? You better get over here. Calder's at my yard asking about you. I checked the time. Not even 9 in the morning, and already the next move was happening. On my way, I said, and turned toward the industrial part of town where Rowan ran his towing empire. The snow started falling again, heavier now. Rowan's yard sat behind a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire, surrounded by snow-covered wrecks and trucks in various states of repair. The office was a metal box with a space heater and coffee that could strip paint. I parked near the gate. Through the fence, I saw Calder's truck, a lifted Dodge with LED light bars and vanity plates that read, Here 01. Rowan met me at the door, steam rising from his coffee cup. He's been here 10 minutes, asking questions, playing friendly. Where? Office. I told him you weren't here. Good. Let's go see what he wants. We walked across the lot. The snow had turned the ground into a minefield of ice patches and frozen ruts. Christmas lights hung between the office and the main garage, sad and blinking. Calder stood by the space heater, hands spread to the warmth, looking comfortable. He saw me and smiled that same easy smile from the hotel parking lot, except now there was a darkness underneath it. Eamon, glad you showed up. I work here sometimes, I lied. What do you want? Just wanted to talk, man to man. We did that yesterday. His smile tightened. That wasn't talking. That was you acting tough for your ego. Funny. I remember you taking a picture of my plate like you were going to report me. Should have. What you did was assault. What I did was express an opinion. Rowan leaned against the desk, silent and watchful. He had his phone out, screen lit, either taking notes or recording. Calder didn't notice. Here's the thing, Calder said, moving closer. Blythe's scared of you. So is Mara. The way you're acting, changing locks, cutting off money, that's textbook manipulation. And sleeping with someone's wife? What's that? That's adults making adult choices. And showing up at my friend's business to intimidate me? What's that? He spread his hands, all innocence. Who's intimidating who? I'm here trying to be reasonable. You're the one who got violent. I'm here for work, I said. If you've got something to say it. Otherwise, leave. Calder's jaw tightened. He glanced at Rowan. This your place? Yep. Nice setup. Must be tough competing with the bigger companies. I do fine. Yeah. I heard fire and rescue contracts with Kingston Towing for their overflow. Sometimes. Be a shame if someone mentioned concerns about your operation. Safety issues, insurance stuff. You know how careful departments have to be. Rowan's expression didn't change. Are you threatening my business? I'm stating facts. I stepped between them. Leave. Calder looked at me and something ugly flickered across his face. You think you're smart. Eamon the IT guy, always in control, but you're just a paycheck to her. You were the safe choice, the boring choice, and now she's made a better one. Then why are you here? He didn't have an answer for that. He turned and walked to the door, then paused and grabbed a set of keys off a pegboard, keys to one of the tow trucks. Forget these, he said, pocketing them. Put them back, Rowan said. Or what? Or I call the police for theft. Calder laughed and tossed the keys on the desk. Relax, just making a point. He walked out. Through the window, I watched him cross to his truck. He stopped at my car, parked nearby, and crouched down by the rear tire. What's he doing? Rowan asked. Something stupid. We went outside. Calder stood up, casual, walked to his truck and climbed in. He drove away slowly, smiling the whole time. I walked to my car. The rear tire was fine, but wedged behind it was a small piece of broken bottle glass, positioned so I'd roll over it backing out. Subtle, Rowan said. Not subtle enough. I kicked the glass away. Did you record that conversation? Audio notes. Not recording, just documented the threats immediately after. Legal in Vermont. Good. Keep it. My car started fine. No sabotage beyond the glass. I drove out of the lot carefully, watching the mirrors. Calder's truck appeared 2 blocks behind me. He followed me through town, staying 3 or 4 car lengths back. Not hiding, not aggressive, just present. A reminder. The roads were slick. Snow covered the lane markers. I turned onto the highway, heading toward nothing in particular, just testing whether he'd stay with me. He stayed. I increased speed. So did he. The highway curved through pine forest, visibility dropping as snow fell harder. My wipers couldn't keep up. A logging truck approached from the opposite direction. I slowed. Calder didn't. He pulled into the passing lane beside me, matching speed, boxing me in. The truck's horn blared. Calder held position for 2 more seconds, long enough to make his point, then dropped back. My heart hammered. My hands were white on the wheel. At the next intersection, I saw a police cruiser parked in a gas station lot. I could pull in, report Calder's dangerous driving, watch him face actual consequences. I drove past, because I wanted Calder to think I was alone, to think I was scared, to keep pushing until he made a mistake I could use. I led him toward the center of town where the cameras were. Gas stations, ATMs, the square with its quaint colonial architecture and security systems at every corner. Calder's truck accelerated past me, cut me off, stopped hard. I braked. We sat at a traffic light, his truck blocking me in, him staring at me through the rearview mirror. The light turned green. He didn't move. Cars behind us started honking. I laid on the horn, long and loud. Calder rolled down his window and leaned out. "You think you're safe because you're in town? You're not safe anywhere." Then he drove off, running a red light, disappearing into the snow. I sat there shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline and fury and something darker I couldn't name. A woman in a minivan pulled up beside me and rolled down her window. "You okay? That guy was crazy." "I'm fine, thank you." "You should report him." "I will," I lied. I drove to a parking lot and sat for 10 minutes, waiting for my hands to stop trembling. Rowan texted, "You good?" "Yeah." He followed me, got aggressive. "Cops?" "Not yet." "You becoming the villain in this story?" I stared at the phone for a long time before answering. "Maybe." When I got back to Rowan's place an hour later, my phone buzzed with an email from Blythe. Subject, "We need to meet tomorrow." Body, "Bring the trust papers. We need to talk about Kellen's role going forward. He has ideas about property management that could benefit everyone. Please be reasonable. Do this for Mara." I read it twice, then forwarded it to my lawyer with a note. "Document everything." Then I deleted her contact from my phone and saved the number under a new name, Liability. The diner on Main Street served breakfast until 2 and had security cameras mounted on every corner of the building. I'd checked. I'd also checked the sight lines, the exits, and the fact that the owner, a man named Terry who'd been catering local events for 20 years, knew Blythe from her fundraiser circuit. I arrived at 11, ordered coffee, and waited. Blythe showed up at 11:15 with Kellen and Sloane in tow. So much for the intimate conversation she'd promised in her email. They took the booth opposite mine, a strategic positioning that put them in view of half the restaurant. Blythe wore her professional armor, tailored coat, minimal makeup, her hair pulled back in a way that said, "Serious person, take me seriously." Kellen wore confidence like cheap cologne. Sloane carried her phone like a weapon. I stayed seated. Didn't stand, didn't greet them, just sipped my coffee and watched them settle in. "Thank you for coming," Blythe said, her voice pitched for the nearby tables, calm, reasonable, the victim trying to reconcile with the difficult husband. "You said this was important." "It is," she gestured to Kellen. "We want to talk about a fair arrangement, for everyone." "Everyone meaning you two?" Sloane leaned forward. "Meaning the family. Mara's caught in the middle of your ego." I looked at her. "Sloane, always a pleasure. How's your marriage?" Her face tightened. Sloane's husband had left her 2 years ago for a colleague. She'd spent every conversation since coaching Blythe on the art of preemptive strike. "Let's stay focused," Blythe said smoothly. "Eamon, I know you're hurt." "I'm not hurt. I'm done." "You're angry, but Mara needs stability, and the properties need proper management." She nodded to Kellen. "Kellen has experience with estate planning." "He has a warrant for unpaid child support in Maine," I said. The table went quiet. Kellen's smile froze. "That's been handled." "Has it?" "Because I made a phone call this morning. You're 42,000 behind. They're actively looking for you." Blythe turned to Kellen. "You said that was cleared up." "It's complicated." "No," I pulled a folder from my bag. "It's documented, and documented things aren't complicated." I opened the folder on the table. Inside were printouts. The trust deed showing my name only, LLC formation documents dated 3 years before our marriage, and the restructuring document Blythe had tried to get me to sign, now marked up by my lawyer with annotations about what it actually did. "This document," I said, sliding it toward Blythe, "doesn't simplify anything. It transfers control to a board that includes Kellen, a man you divorced, who's wanted in another state, who showed up exactly when you started asking about my assets." Sloane grabbed her phone. "This is slander. It's fact, with evidence." I looked at Blythe. "You've been planning this for how long? Months? A year?" "You're paranoid," Blythe said, but her voice had lost its conviction. "Am I? Let's talk about the hotel charges, the foundation events that weren't real, the receipts for gifts I never saw. That's none of your—" It is when you use my credit card. Blythe reached for her wallet, pulled out her card, the one I'd canceled, and handed it to the approaching waitress. Check, please. The waitress ran the card. Came back. I'm sorry, ma'am, it's declined. Every conversation in the nearby booths stopped. That's the thing about small-town diners. Everyone's listening, even when they're pretending not to. Blythe's face went red. She fumbled for another card, also declined. Kellen tried his. Approved, barely, for the $12 tab. I dropped a 20 on my table and stood. Like I said in my email, all future communication goes through lawyers. And Kellen? I looked at him. I'd get out of state before they catch up with you. Sloane stood, blocking my path. You're destroying her. No, I'm removing myself from her finances. She destroyed herself by planning to steal from me. You have no proof? I have the document. I have the timeline. I have hotel receipts and witness statements about where she's been and who she's been with. And I have lawyers who know exactly how to document a pattern. I walked past her. Behind me, I heard Blythe's voice crack. Eamon, wait. I didn't. Outside, the snow had turned the parking lot into a skating rink. I was halfway to my car when Kellen caught up, moving fast. You think you can threaten me? He said. I didn't threaten you. I told you facts. The child support thing is none of your business. It became my business when you tried to steal my property. He stepped closer. I could make your life very difficult. How? By standing next to me aggressively? I met his eyes. You're a con artist with unpaid warrants and a narcissist for a partner. All I have to do is wait for you to implode. His hand twitched like he wanted to grab me, but we were in the middle of Main Street with cameras everywhere and Terry watching from the diner window. Kellen's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went pale. When? He asked. Then? I'll call you back. He looked at me with something close to fear. What did you do? I made a phone call to Maine about your current location. That's legal and accurate. I got in my car. Leave town, Kellen. There's nothing here for you except warrants. I drove away slowly, watching him stand there in the snow, phone pressed to his ear, realizing the ground had shifted. At the next light, I pulled up my notes app and added a line. Financial trap closed, legal trap opening, emotional trap next. My phone buzzed. Text from Rowan. Your car's been messed with at my yard. Someone came back. I texted back. How bad? Slashed tire, keyed door, they're getting desperate. I smiled and thought, good. Desperate people make mistakes, and I was counting on it. The hospital foundation board meeting was scheduled for Friday at 4. I knew this because Blythe's calendar synced to the family tablet, and she'd never learned to stop sharing. I also knew they'd be discussing donor complaints, specifically a complaint filed anonymously Thursday night about potential conflicts of interest within the fundraising department. I'd made the complaint myself, using real information, verifiable facts, nothing fabricated, just uncomfortable truths presented in the right order to the right people. I spent Friday morning documenting everything I had. Timeline of hotel charges matched against Blythe's public Facebook check-ins. She'd posted photos from donor events while credit card statements showed her 30 miles away. Calder Knox receiving recognition gifts. From the foundation, despite no clear donation record, gifts purchased during the same time frame as the affair. The restructuring document with Kellen's name on it, compared against public records showing his outstanding warrants and financial judgments. I compiled it all into a single PDF, clean and professional, the kind of thing a concerned anonymous donor might send if they'd noticed irregularities. Then I waited. At 4:30, my phone rang. Blocked number. Hello? You bastard. Blythe's voice, raw and furious. You went to the board. I haven't spoken to anyone on the board. Don't lie to me. They have everything. Hotel receipts, timeline, the document with Kellen's name. Then someone who cares about the foundation's reputation made a complaint. It was you? Prove it. Silence. Then, they've suspended me pending investigation. Do you understand what that means? My career, my reputation? You should have thought about that before sleeping with a firefighter on the foundation's dime. I never used foundation money. You used discretionary access to give gifts to Calder. You used donor events as cover for personal travel, and you tried to rope me into a financial scheme with a man wanted for child support fraud. That's the reality. Not my fault you didn't think it through. She made a sound like a sob or a scream. Mara's crying. She thinks this is all her fault. It's not her fault. It's yours. She's a child. She's old enough to tell me to get out, so she's old enough to see consequences. I'll fix this, Blythe said, her voice hardening. I'll tell everyone you're obsessed, controlling, dangerous. With what evidence? The locks I changed on my property, the cards I canceled that were in my name, the money I moved from my account. I laughed. Go ahead. See how that plays. She hung up. I sat in Rowan's kitchen, staring at my phone, feeling nothing but a clean, cold satisfaction. Rowan appeared with 2 beers. You good? Yeah. You sure? Because you're smiling, and it's kind of terrifying. I took the beer. She's suspended. The board's investigating. Calder's connected to it. And Kellen's got warrants he can't outrun. The trap's working. And you? What about me? You becoming someone you'll regret? I thought about that. About who I used to be. The stable one, the reliable one. The man who fixed problems and paid bills and showed up when nobody else did. Maybe, I said. But I like this version better. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered. Heavy breathing, then Calder's voice. You think you're safe? I think I'm strategic. I know where you're staying. I know where you go. One of these days you'll be alone, and You'll what? Break into my house again? Follow me on the highway? Threaten my friend's business? I laughed. You already tried that. It didn't work. This isn't over. You're right. It's not. But here's the thing, Calder. You're a hothead with a public job and a girlfriend whose career just imploded because of your relationship. Every move you make now gets you closer to losing everything. He hung up. Rowan had been listening. He threatened you. Yeah. You calling the cops? Not yet. Let him keep digging. You're building a case. I'm documenting behavior. I finished the beer. He'll come at me again, and when he does, I want witnesses and cameras ready. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in Rowan's spare room, listening to the wind rattle the windows and the distant sound of plow trucks scraping Main Street. I thought about Blythe at our wedding, smiling in white, promising forever. I thought about Mara at 8 years old, asking if she could call me Dad. I thought about 6 years of dinners and holidays and ordinary moments that had felt like building something permanent. And I thought about how none of it mattered once they decided I was replaceable. My phone lit up. Motion alert from my house camera, the one they didn't know I'd kept active on a separate admin account. Someone was at my front door. I pulled up the feed. Calder stood on the porch, trying the handle. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m. I watched him try the back door, then a window. I called Rowan. He's at my house, breaking in. I'll meet you there. No, call the police. I want this documented official. Eamon, do it. I drove through empty streets, snow falling thick and quiet. By the time I arrived, Calder's truck was gone, but the back door showed fresh damage, pry marks around the deadbolt. The police arrived 10 minutes later. I showed them the camera footage. They took a report. Officer. You want to press charges? Me. I want a restraining order application. I want this documented, and I want you to note he's romantically involved with my wife. Officer. That's not illegal. Me. Breaking and entering is. They filed the report, gave me a case number, told me I could apply for the restraining order Monday morning. I stayed at the house after they left, walking room to room, seeing it differently now. Not a home, a stage where people had pretended to care about me while planning their exit. In the master bedroom closet, I found Blythe's laptop, the one she used for foundation work. She'd left it behind in her panic yesterday. I didn't hack it, I just opened it, no password. It woke right up. Her email was logged in. Hundreds of messages. I scrolled through them, not reading private conversations, just scanning subject lines. There, an email chain with Sloan titled Next Steps. I clicked it. Sloan. He's weaker when he's isolated. Keep Mara on your side. Make him look erratic. Blythe. He's already acting paranoid. The locks, the money, people will believe he's controlling. Sloan. Perfect. Document everything. You'll need it for the divorce. Blythe. What about Kellen? Sloan. Let him handle the real estate issues. You handle the emotional side of things. Between the two of us, Eamon won't even understand what happened to him. I screenshot the entire exchange, saved it to a private cloud drive, closed the laptop. My phone rang. Blythe. I didn't answer. She called 6 more times, then Kellen called, then Sloan. I turned off the phone and sat in the dark house, thinking about what kind of person plans someone's destruction in email chains and still kisses them goodnight. When I turned the phone back on, the missed call counter read 41. I texted my lawyer, "Get ready, I'm accelerating the timeline." He responded immediately. What happened? They tried to break me. Now I'm going to dismantle them. Legally? Legally, I lied. Because the next phase wasn't about courts or paperwork. It was about making them feel what I'd felt that Christmas night. Small, powerless, and erased. and I knew exactly how to do it. The motion sensor alert came at 2:40 a.m. Saturday. My phone vibrated on the nightstand at Rowan's place, screen glowing with a notification. Backdoor motion detected. I was already awake, had been for hours, running scenarios in my head, calculating moves and counter-moves like chess problems. I pulled up the camera feed. A figure moved along the back of the house, testing windows. The infrared made everything ghostly and green. Then the figure's face turned toward the camera. Calder. Again. I called Rowan. He answered on the first ring, voice rough with sleep. What? He's back, at my house. Cops? Not yet. Meet me there. Bring the truck with the dash cam. Eamon? I want witnesses. Real ones. I dressed fast, grabbed my keys, and drove through snow-silent streets. The town looked dead at this hour. Christmas lights dark, shops closed, everything frozen and waiting. Rowan's truck pulled up behind mine 2 blocks from my house. We approached on foot, staying quiet, boots crunching in packed snow. Lights were off inside, no movement visible through windows, but Calder's truck sat in my driveway, bold as a threat, exhaust rising into the cold air. He's still here, Rowan whispered. I pulled out my phone and triggered the exterior floodlights through the app. The yard exploded in white light. A crash from inside. Then silence. The back door burst open. Calder stumbled out, shielding his eyes from the sudden brightness. He wore dark clothes and gloves. A crowbar dangled from his hand. He saw us and froze. Hi, Calder, I said calmly. Breaking and entering's a felony. He dropped the crowbar and ran. Not toward his truck, toward the side yard and the woods beyond. His boots slipped in the snow. He caught himself on the fence, vaulted over it, disappeared into the darkness between houses. Should we follow? Rowan asked. No. Let him run. I walked to the back door. The frame was splintered around the deadbolt. Fresh damage, still showing raw wood. I took photos with my phone. Time-stamped, geotagged, clear as evidence. Rowan pointed his dash cam at the damage. Got it on video, too. Him running, you standing still, everything legal. I called the police. They arrived 15 minutes later, the same officer from yesterday, now looking annoyed. Same guy? He asked. Same guy. Calder Knox, firefighter, EMT, and apparently criminal. You got him on camera this time? I showed him the feed, Calder's face clear in infrared, the crowbar in his hand, the forced entry. The officer's expression changed. I'll file an arrest warrant. Judge'll sign it Monday morning. Restraining order? I'll expedite the paperwork. This is escalating. After he left, I sat on the back steps watching the sky lighten from black to gray. Rowan sat beside me, drinking coffee from a thermos. You're not scared, he observed. I'm terrified. You don't look it, because fear's useless. Action works. My phone buzzed. Text from Blythe. We need to talk, now. I didn't respond. Another text. Calder's missing. Have you seen him? I smiled and typed, Why would I see your boyfriend? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, please? He's not answering his phone. I'm worried. Not my problem. Eamon, I know you're angry, but I blocked her number. Rowan watched me. Cold. Efficient. We stayed until sunrise, then drove to the diner for breakfast. The Saturday morning crowd filled the booths, retirees, shift workers, families with loud children. Normal life happening around us while mine burned down and rebuilt simultaneously. Terry, the owner, brought coffee without being asked. Heard about the break-in. You okay? Small towns. Everyone knows everything. I'm fine. Police are handling it. That Calder Knox. Always thought he was too smooth. Terry shook his head. His daddy was the same way. Charm plus trouble. After he walked away, Rowan leaned forward. The gala's tonight. What? Hospital Foundation Holiday Gala. Blythe's big event. The one she's been planning for 6 months. I'd forgotten. With everything happening, the gala had slipped my mind. But now, she's suspended, I said slowly. But the event still happens. Board probably wants to show stability. Can't cancel a major fundraiser just because their director's under investigation. I thought about it. Blythe would have to attend. She'd planned it, invited half the donors, built her reputation around events like this. But she'd be walking in disgraced, suspended, with everyone whispering. I'm going, I said. Bad idea. Best idea. I'll be the concerned husband. Polite, supportive, completely reasonable. You'll be twisting the knife. Yes, Rowan studied me. You're becoming someone else. I'm becoming someone who fights back. The gala started at 7. I spent the afternoon preparing, pressed suit, clean shave, rehearsing the exact tone of polite concern that would make Blythe want to scream. At 6:30, I arrived at the Riverside Hotel ballroom. The foundation had transformed it into winter elegance: white lights, ice sculptures, tables draped in silver, donors mingled with champagne glasses, performing the ritual of charity and networking. I checked in at the door. The volunteer looked surprised to see me. Eamon Hart, +1. Oh, your wife's name isn't on the list anymore. I know, I'm here solo. She handed me a name tag and program. I walked in. The room fell into that particular quiet that happens when gossip becomes present. Conversations paused. Eyes tracked me. Someone whispered to their companion. I smiled and nodded to familiar faces. Found the open bar, ordered ginger ale, needed to stay sharp. Blythe arrived at 7:15 with Sloane flanking her like a bodyguard. She wore red, bold, and defiant, her makeup perfect and her smile brittle. She saw me and stopped mid-stride. Our eyes met across the ballroom. I raised my glass slightly, a toast, a greeting, a message. She turned pale and looked away. The board chair, a silver-haired man named Donovan, approached me. Eamon, didn't expect to see you here. Wouldn't miss it. Blythe worked so hard on this. His expression flickered. Yes. Well, given the circumstances. I understand there are questions. I'm sure they'll be resolved fairly. Of course. He clearly wanted to ask more, but couldn't without being inappropriate. I excused myself and moved through the crowd, stopping to talk with donors I recognized. Each conversation was brief, friendly, perfectly calibrated. How's Blythe holding up? I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding. These investigations are never fun, but truth comes out. Every sentence a small weapon, every smile a blade. Calder arrived at 8, wearing a suit that didn't quite fit, looking like someone playing dress-up. He scanned the room, spotted me, and his jaw tightened. He started toward me. I moved toward the coat check. Cameras everywhere. Witnesses abundant. He caught up near the lobby entrance. We need to talk. We really don't. You're trying to destroy her. I'm not doing anything. She destroyed herself. You filed false complaints. I filed documented concerns with verifiable evidence. He stepped closer, crowding my space. You think you're smart. You think you've won. I met his eyes. I think you're desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. You want to see desperate? I've been seeing it. The break-ins, the threats, the following, all documented, all reported, all building a case that ends with you locked up. His hand shot out and grabbed my lapel, pulling me close. Listen, get your hands off me. I said it loud enough for nearby guests to hear. They turned, stared. Calder realized what he'd done and released me, but too late. A security volunteer, older man in a Foundation polo shirt, approached. Everything okay here? This man just grabbed me, I said calmly. He's lying. I saw it, said a woman in a blue dress. He grabbed him. Calder looked around at the witnesses forming, his face flushed red. This is... Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, the volunteer said. I'm a guest. Not anymore. Calder looked at me with pure hatred. This isn't over. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, it is. I filed for a restraining order this morning. It'll be granted Monday. And I have you on camera breaking into my house twice. The warrant's already written. You're done, Calder. The color drained from his face. He looked past me to where Blythe stood watching, frozen. Then he turned and walked out. The crowd resumed talking, louder now, feeding on the drama. I straightened my jacket and found Donovan standing nearby. I apologize for the disturbance, I said. That was Calder Knox, the firefighter. Yes. The one mentioned in the complaint. I wouldn't know. I didn't file it. But my smile said everything. Donovan studied me. You're playing a dangerous game. I'm defending myself. There's a difference. He walked away, shaking his head. Blythe appeared at my elbow, voice low and furious. What did you do? I stood here. He grabbed me. People saw. You orchestrated this. I showed up to a charity event I donated to. That's all. Calder could lose his job. Calder broke into my house, twice. That's not my problem. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't believe them anymore. Why are you doing this? Because you gave my chair to another man and told me to leave. So I did, and now you're learning what leaving looks like. I walked away before she could respond. Found my coat. Left through the front entrance. Outside, the snow had stopped. The night was clear and cold, stars bright overhead. My phone buzzed. Text from Rowan. Police arrested Calder. Warrant came through early. Judge signed it tonight. I stood in the parking lot, breath fogging the air, and felt something like victory settle in my chest. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Monday morning arrived with the kind of cold that makes your lungs hurt. I woke early at Rowan's place, checked my phone, and found 16 new emails. 3 from my lawyer confirming the restraining order had been granted. 1 from the police updating me on Calder's arrest. He'd posted bail Sunday afternoon, but was ordered to stay away from me, my property, and my workplace. The rest were from blocked senders, which meant Blythe was trying different emails to reach me. I deleted them all without reading. The lawyer called at 9. The restraining order's solid. 1-year term, renewable. He violates it, he goes back to jail. Good. There's something else. His employer was notified of the arrest. Standard procedure for public safety workers. And he's on administrative leave pending investigation. Breaking and entering doesn't play well for someone who enters people's homes as part of his job. I felt that cold satisfaction again. Thanks for the update. After hanging up, I drove into town. The streets were clearer now, plows having worked through the weekend. Main Street looked almost cheerful in morning sun. Storefronts decorated, people walking, the ordinary machinery of a small town running smoothly. I stopped at the hardware store, bought new security cameras, motion sensor lights, and a deadbolt upgrade. Paid cash. The clerk, a kid named Danny who'd gone to school with Mara, rang me up without comment. Heard about your trouble, he said quietly. My mom works at the hospital. She says your wife's in deep. Small towns. I don't want to talk about it. Sure, just people are on your side, for what it's worth. I didn't know what to say to that. I took my purchases and left. At the house, I installed the new equipment methodically. Extra cameras covering all entry points. Lights that would flood the yard at the first hint of movement. Locks that would take an angle grinder to defeat. I was finishing the front door when a car pulled up. Not Blythe's Lexus. A sedan I didn't recognize. A woman got out, 50s, professional clothes, carrying a leather bag. She approached with the careful confidence of someone delivering bad news. Eamon Hart? Yes? I'm Gloria Simmons. I represent Blythe Hart in the dissolution proceedings. We're not divorced yet. We're preparing the paperwork. I need to discuss asset disclosure and temporary support arrangements. Talk to my lawyer. I'm trying to avoid escalation. Your wife is willing to be reasonable if you are. I set down my drill. Define reasonable. She's requesting temporary support of $5,000 monthly continued health insurance and shared access to the marital home until assets are divided. I almost laughed. The house isn't marital property. It's held in a trust established before we married. Vermont is an equitable distribution state. The court will consider documented evidence that she attempted to defraud me of said property with the help of her ex-boyfriend, who's currently wanted in Maine for child support evasion. Gloria's expression tightened. That's an accusation without... I went inside, grabbed the folder I'd prepared, and handed it to her. Timeline of the affair, hotel receipts, the restructuring document with Kellen Voss's name on it, his outstanding warrants, the anonymous complaint to the foundation board, and transcripts of conversations where she and her friend Sloane planned to make me look erratic for divorce proceedings. Gloria opened the folder. Read. Her face went carefully neutral. Where did you get these transcripts? From her laptop, which she left at the house. My house. That may not be admissible. I didn't hack anything. It was open and logged in. And even if a judge excludes it, I can still show the pattern. The timeline, the money, the conspiracy. She closed the folder. You're making this very difficult. Good. She made my life difficult. Now it's her turn. Mr. Hart, I understand you're angry. I'm not angry. I'm done being stolen from. Gloria studied me. You realize if this goes to litigation, it'll be expensive and public. I have resources, and I don't care about public anymore. She already humiliated me at Christmas dinner. What's a courtroom compared to that? She tucked the folder under her arm. I'll relay your position to my client. You do that, and tell her if she wants to negotiate, she can start by dropping the support request and acknowledging the trust property is mine. After Gloria left, I sat on the front steps and felt exhausted. Not physically, emotionally. The constant vigilance, the strategic thinking, the performance of strength. It was draining. My phone rang. Rowan. You okay? Saw a lawyer-looking woman at your place. Blythe's attorney. Trying to get temporary support and access to the house. What did you say? I said no. With evidence. Rowan was quiet for a moment. You're not leaving her any outs. She didn't leave me any dignity. Fair trade. That afternoon, I got a call from the hospital foundation. Donovan's assistant, asking if I'd come in for a brief meeting. I arrived at 3. Donovan's office overlooked the river, all dark wood and leather chairs. He sat behind his desk, looking tired. Thank you for coming. I'll be direct. The board has completed its preliminary review of the complaint regarding Blythe. And? We found enough irregularities to warrant her permanent removal from the director position. I kept my face neutral. I see. The gifts to Mr. Knox, funded through discretionary accounts. The hotel charges during claimed work events. The attempted involvement of Mr. Voss in foundation matters despite his lack of credentials or authorization. That sounds serious. It is. We're not pursuing legal action. The amounts don't justify it. But her employment is terminated effective immediately. I nodded slowly. I appreciate you telling me. Mr. Hart, Eamon, I know your marriage is ending. And I know that's complicated and painful, but I want you to know the board's decision wasn't about you. It was about protecting the foundation. I understand. Do you? He leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you orchestrated this. The timing, the evidence, the way everything lined up. I didn't file the complaint. But you provided the information. I provided facts. What the foundation did with them was your choice. He sat back. You're a clever man, and a vindictive one. I'm a man who got kicked out of his own house on Christmas. Vindictive is just applied justice. I left his office and sat in my car for a long time, staring at the river flowing dark and cold beneath ice shelves. Blythe's career was over. Calder was arrested and on leave. Kellen was running from warrants. And I felt nothing. No triumph. No satisfaction. Just a hollow space where anger used to be. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Mara. Can we talk? I stared at it for 5 minutes before responding. When? Now? I'm at the coffee shop on Main. I drove over. Found her sitting in a back corner, wearing a winter coat too big for her frame, looking younger than 16 and older at the same time. I sat down across from her. Hi. Hi. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom said I shouldn't talk to you. So why are you? Because I think I made a mistake. The words hung between us. Outside, people walked past the window, ordinary and oblivious. What mistake? I asked quietly. Christmas. What I said. How I said it. She finally looked at me. Mom told me it would make things simpler, that you'd understand, that it was time for my real dad to be part of things. And now? Now Kellen's gone. Just left. Didn't even say goodbye. Mom's fired, Calder's arrested, and everyone at school knows. Her voice cracked. Everyone's talking about how my mom cheated and got caught. I'm sorry you're dealing with that. Are you? Because you're the one who did this? No, your mother did this. I just stopped pretending it didn't happen. She wiped her eyes. She says you're trying to destroy her. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. Is there? Because it feels the same to me. I didn't have an answer for that. Mara stood up. I just wanted to tell you, what I said at Christmas about you not being my real dad, I didn't mean it. I was angry and Mom coached me and I wanted to hurt you, but you were there, for everything, and I'm sorry. She walked out before I could respond. I sat alone in the coffee shop, staring at my cold cup, and felt something crack in the armor I'd built. Because she was right. I'd become someone who hurt people efficiently, someone who used pain as currency, and I didn't know if I could stop. Wednesday afternoon, Rowan called with news that felt like gasoline on embers. Calder's truck's getting towed. Thought you'd want to know. Why? Parked in a fire lane outside the grocery store. Been there 2 hours. Manager called it in. You're doing the tow? I'm doing the tow, and if you happen to be in the area, well, public space. I drove to the grocery store parking lot. Snow had been pushed into dirty piles along the edges. Rowan's tow truck sat idling, yellow lights spinning. Calder's lifted Dodge sat in the red curbed fire lane, exactly as illegal as it looked. A small crowd had gathered, people with shopping carts, curious onlookers, the grocery manager with his arms crossed. I parked at the far end and watched. Rowan hooked the truck efficiently, professional, and methodical. He was positioning the winch when Calder burst out of the store, running. Hey, what are you doing? Rowan didn't stop working. Towing an illegally parked vehicle. That's my truck. Should have parked legally. Calder saw me standing by my car. His face went dark. You called this in. I'm grocery shopping. I held up the empty canvas bag I'd brought as a prop. This is harassment. This is code enforcement, Rowan said calmly. The winch whined, lifting the front wheels. You're parked in a fire lane, marked clearly. Manager called it in. Everything legal. Calder moved toward the truck. You're not taking it. Sir, step back. I said you're not taking it. Calder grabbed the truck's door handle, tried to wrench it open. The grocery manager pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. Good, Rowan said. Make sure they know he's interfering with a legal tow. Calder's face flushed red. He yanked on the door, climbed onto the runner, trying to get into the cab even as the front wheels lifted. Sir, get down. Rowan's voice cut sharp. I walked closer, just close enough for Calder to see me clearly. Hi, Calder. How's the restraining order working out? He jumped down from the truck and came at me, fast, furious, totally uncontrolled. I stepped back. Didn't run, just moved so the security camera on the grocery store entrance had a clear view. You're doing this, Calder snarled. All of it. The arrest, the suspension, the tow. I'm standing in a parking lot. You're the one violating parking laws. You smug piece of... A police cruiser pulled up, lights flashing. Officer Martinez got out. The same cop who'd taken the break-in reports. What's going on? Rowan explained calmly. Manager corroborated. I stood silent. Martinez looked at Calder. You need to step away from the vehicle. This is targeted harassment. You're parked in a fire lane. That's a violation. The tow's legal. He's behind this. Calder pointed at me. Mr. Hart's standing over there. He's not towing anything. He called it in. The manager called it in. Martinez's voice hardened. And you're currently violating a restraining order by approaching Mr. Hart. So unless you want another arrest, I suggest you step back. The fight went out of Calder like air from a tire. He looked around, at the crowd, the camera, the officer, and realized he was trapped. Where are you towing it to? He asked Rowan quietly. Impound lot. City regulations. How much to get it back? Tow fee, storage fee, citation fine. About $600, maybe more depending on how long it sits. Calder's face went white. I don't have that. Then it stays impounded until you do. The winch whined louder. The truck rose higher, front wheels fully off the ground. Calder watched his pride being hauled away and looked like he wanted to cry. I felt nothing, just watched the mechanical process play out with detached interest. An older woman from the crowd approached Calder. Aren't you the firefighter? The one who gave that talk at the school? Calder's jaw tightened. Yeah. My grandson looks up to you. What's he going to think when he hears about this? This is a misunderstanding. Looks pretty clear to me. Fire lane's marked. You parked there anyway. She shook her head and walked away. Another voice from the crowd. That's the guy who's been with Blythe Hart. My wife works at the foundation. Whispers spread. Phones came out. Not to call anyone, to record. To capture the moment when the local hero became the local scandal. Calder noticed the phones, and his face went from red to pale. Put those away. Public parking lot, someone said. We can record what we want. Martinez approached me. Mr. Hart, you just happen to be here? Grocery shopping. Right, and it's just coincidence the guy who broke into your house twice gets his truck towed while you watch. Life's full of coincidences. He studied me. You're playing a dangerous game. Eventually someone gets hurt. I'm not playing anything. I'm just living my life. If other people break laws and face consequences, that's on them. Martinez shook his head and walked back to his cruiser. Rowan finished securing the truck and climbed into his cab. He pulled away slowly, Calder's Dodge following like a captured prize. Calder stood in the parking lot, alone, watching his truck disappear. The crowd dispersed slowly, still talking, still recording, spreading the story through town like wildfire. I walked past him toward the store. As I passed, I said quietly, You took something that wasn't yours. Now you know how it feels? He didn't respond, just stood there in the cold, breathing hard, fists clenched. A younger guy in a fire department jacket approached Calder. Hey man, Chief's been trying to reach you. Says you need to come in for a meeting. When? Tomorrow morning, 9 sharp. Something about the administrative review. Calder's shoulders slumped. Yeah, okay. The guy hesitated. For what it's worth, people are talking. About you and the married woman. About the arrest. It's not looking good. I know. Chief's under pressure. Town council's asking questions. You might want to prepare for... I said I know. The guy walked away, leaving Calder standing alone in the snow. Inside the store, I actually did shop. Picked up coffee, bread, eggs. The checkout girl, a teenager with bright blue hair, looked at me with recognition. You're Eamon, right? Blythe's husband? Ex-husband soon. Everyone's talking about what she did. My mom says she got what she deserved. She bagged my groceries. Is it true you locked her out of everything? I protected my assets. Good. My dad got taken in a divorce. Lost everything. It's nice to see someone fight back. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded and left. By the time I came out, Calder was gone, but his presence lingered. In the whispers, the stares, the way people looked at me with a mixture of respect and fear. My phone buzzed. Text from Rowan. Truck's an impound. Ran the registration. He owes back fees. Expired inspection. It's going to be $1,200 to release, minimum. I texted back. Good. Then another text from a blocked number. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. This is Kellen. We need to talk. About Mara. About what you're doing. Call me. I deleted it. But 2 hours later, he showed up at Rowan's yard, where I was helping organize an inventory of parts. I saw his rental car pull in, a compact sedan that screamed temporary and desperate. He got out slowly, hands visible, like approaching a dangerous animal. Eamon, can we talk? No. It's about Mara. She's not my daughter, you made that very clear. She's scared. Blythe's falling apart. This whole thing is out of control. I set down the clipboard. You tried to steal my property. You coached a 16-year-old to humiliate me. You showed up wearing my clothes in my house, and now you want me to care that there are consequences? I made mistakes. You made choices. You chose to come back for money, not your daughter. You chose to conspire with Blythe to defraud me. You chose to run when Maine finally caught up with you. His face tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? The child support warrants are public record. 42,000 behind. They're actively looking for you, and you thought you could hide here while raiding my assets. That's not... It's exactly what happened. And the pathetic part is you're not even good at it. You left a paper trail. You put your name on documents. You made yourself visible. So when this collapses, and it will, you'll go back to Maine in handcuffs. Kellen's hand went to his pocket. For a second I thought he might pull a weapon, but he just pulled out his phone. I'm recording this conversation. Good, record it. Tell the judge I accurately described your criminal history and your attempt to defraud me. I'm sure that'll help. He put the phone away. Blythe loves you. She made mistakes, but she loves you. Blythe loves security. I was security until I wasn't. Now she's alone with consequences. You're destroying her. She destroyed herself. I'm just not saving her. Kellen stepped closer. If you don't back off, I'll... Rowan appeared from the garage, wrench in hand, presence large and threatening. You'll what? Kellen looked at Rowan, then at me, then back at his car. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Leave town, Kellen. There's nothing here for you except arrest warrants and angry creditors. He got in his car and drove away too fast, tires spinning in the slush. Rowan stood beside me, watching him go. That's 3 of them now. Wife, lover, ex, all circling and desperate. Good. Desperate people reveal themselves. Or they do something stupid. Then they do something stupid and I document it. But that night, lying awake in Rowan's spare room, I wondered if Martinez was right. If I was pushing too hard. If someone would eventually snap in a way I couldn't control. My phone buzzed. Another blocked number. I answered. What? Breathing. Then Blythe's voice, small and broken. Mara's crying. She won't stop crying. She says it's her fault, that she destroyed our family. She didn't destroy it. You did. Please, I'm begging you. Call off whatever you're doing. I'll sign anything. Give you everything. Just stop. I'm not doing anything. I'm existing. And your world is collapsing because it was built on lies. I made mistakes. You made choices. For months. Every hotel visit, every lie, every secret meeting with Kellen about stealing from me. Those were choices. I was confused. You were calculated. And now the calculation failed. Silence. Then, I loved you once. Maybe. But you loved what I provided more, and then when you thought you could get it without me, you tried. That's not love. That's transaction. You've become cruel. I've become clear. She hung up. I stared at the ceiling, listening to wind rattle the window, and wondered who I was becoming. Someone strong, or someone broken who'd learned to weaponize the pieces. Thursday morning, I woke to 17 missed calls and 32 text messages. Something had happened overnight. I scrolled through the texts, most from blocked numbers. One from my lawyer. Call me immediately. I called. The police contacted me, he said without preamble. Someone filed a harassment complaint against you, claiming you're stalking, threatening, and manipulating the situation. Who filed it? Blythe Hart and Calder Knox, joint complaint. I almost laughed. They're coordinating now. It's not funny. They're claiming you orchestrated the tow, the arrest, the Foundation investigation, everything. I orchestrated nothing. I defended myself. Can you prove that? Every action I took was legal. Changing locks on my property, removing authorized users from my credit cards, filing police reports about actual crimes. How is that harassment? It's not, but perception matters. They're building a narrative that you're vindictive and controlling. Let them. I have documents, timeline, evidence. They have complaints and hurt feelings. My lawyer sighed. Just be careful. Don't give them ammunition. After hanging up, I drove into town. Needed coffee, needed to see daylight, needed to remember the world was bigger than this spiral of revenge and counter-revenge. The coffee shop was busy. I stood in line, staring at the menu, trying to remember why I came here. Amen. I turned. Kellen stood behind me, looking haggard. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. I'm leaving. Going back to Maine. Turning myself in. But before I go, I need to tell you something. I ordered coffee and moved to a table in the corner. Kellen followed. Talk, I said. He sat heavily. Blythe and I, the plan to get you to sign over the trust. That was real. I'm not denying it. I know. But she didn't come up with it. I did. That stopped me. What? I was desperate. The child support, the judgments, the creditors. I needed money fast. And when Blythe mentioned you had properties in a trust, I saw an opportunity. So you seduced her? No, she was already cheating with Calder. I just suggested a different angle. Make you feel replaced, get you emotional, slip in the document when you were vulnerable. And she agreed. She wanted out. Wanted the security without the boring husband. So yeah, she agreed, but it was my idea. I drank my coffee. It tasted like ash. Why are you telling me this? Because Mara doesn't deserve what's happening. She's a kid. She got used. By me, by Blythe, by everyone. And now she's blaming herself. That's not my problem. It could be. You raised her for 6 years. She looks up to you, even if she won't admit it. She told me to get out. Screamed it in front of everyone. Because I coached her. Told her it would make things easier, that you'd understand. I understood perfectly. Kellen leaned forward. I'm asking you, begging you, leave them alone now. Blythe's finished. Calder's suspended. I'm leaving. You won. Let it end. I thought about Mara in the coffee shop days ago, about her apology, about the 16-year-old caught in crossfire she didn't create. What happens to her? I asked. She stays with Blythe. They'll figure it out. On what income? Blythe's unemployed. You're leaving. Calder's broke. That's not your concern. You're right. It's not. I stood up. Kellen grabbed my arm. Please. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but Mara does. I pulled free. You should have thought about that before Christmas. I started to walk away, but Kellen stood, blocking my path. His voice dropped low, urgent. You want the whole truth? Fine. The document we wanted you to sign, it wasn't just about property control. Blythe found out about a life insurance policy, the one through your business, $500,000 payout. I stopped. What about it? She wanted to make sure she stayed the beneficiary, even after divorce. The trust restructuring was the cover. The real prize was making sure if something happened to you, if something happened to me. The words felt cold. Not like that. Jesus. I mean naturally. Years from now. She wanted to lock in her claim before you changed it. She thought that far ahead. She's always thinking ahead. That's who she is. Kellen's voice cracked. I'm telling you because I'm done. Done lying. Done scheming. I just want to turn myself in and serve my time and maybe, somewhere down the line, actually be a real father to Mara. Not this. Too late for redemption speeches. I know, but you deserve to know the full scope. He pulled a folded paper from his jacket. This is the original document, the one before Blythe's lawyer cleaned it up. You'll see her handwriting in the margins, notes about the insurance policy, about waiting periods, about how to word it so you wouldn't notice. I took the paper, unfolded it, saw Blythe's handwriting, neat, controlled, calculating, words like ensure continuity and maintain rights, and primary beneficiary status. She was going to let me sign my own financial arrangement away. She was going to make sure you couldn't cut her out, ever, even in death. Kellen shook his head. I'm a lot of things, but I couldn't let her do that without you knowing. Why now? Why tell me this? Because when I get to Maine, when I stand in front of that judge, I want to be able to say I tried to make one thing right. This is it. This is me trying. He walked out of the coffee shop, leaving me holding evidence of betrayal deeper than I'd imagined. I sat back down, read the document 3 times. Each margin note was a small blade. Each calculation was proof she'd never loved me, only what I represented. My hands shook, not from anger anymore, from something colder, from the absolute certainty that I'd married someone capable of planning my financial exploitation beyond the grave. I took a photo of every page, sent it to my lawyer with a message. Update the life insurance beneficiary immediately and add this to the divorce file. His response came fast. Good God, this is unconscionable. Changing beneficiary now. This strengthens your position considerably. That afternoon, I met with my lawyer to review the harassment complaint. We went through every action I'd taken, documenting the legality of each one. They have no case, he concluded. You're fine. What about the narrative? The claim that I'm manipulative? Narratives don't matter in court. Evidence does, and their evidence is non-existent. He tapped the document Kellen had given me. This, however, is powerful evidence. Shows premeditation, financial predation. The judge will see this for what it is. Use it. Are you sure? It'll destroy any sympathy she might get? She was planning to profit from my end, I'm sure. I left his office and drove toward Rowan's place. But halfway there, I turned around and drove to my house instead. The new locks gleamed. The cameras watched silently. I went inside and walked through rooms that felt foreign now, like a museum of someone else's life. In Mara's room, nothing had changed. Posters on the walls, books on shelves, her laptop on the desk. I stood in the doorway and remembered teaching her to ride a bike, helping with homework, talking her through friendship drama and school stress. I'd been her father in every way that mattered except biology, and I'd let one moment of cruelty erase all of it. But looking at her room now, seeing the photos of us together on her bulletin board, me and her at the beach, at her 8th grade graduation, building a snowman 2 winters ago, I realized she'd been collateral damage. Used by Blythe, used by Kellen, caught between adults playing games with high stakes. I picked up a framed photo from her desk. Halloween 3 years ago. She'd dressed as a pirate. I'd dressed as a parrot to match. We looked ridiculous and happy. That version of me felt like a stranger now. My phone rang. Blythe. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. What? The board chair called. They're moving forward with terminating my severance package, claiming the evidence shows willful misconduct. And? I have nothing. No job, no income, no savings. Kellen's gone, Calder's useless, and you've made sure I can't access anything we built together. We didn't build it together. I built it. You used it. I have a daughter. You have a daughter you're failing because you chose a con artist and a firefighter over stability. I'm asking for help. You're asking for money. Yes, for Mara, she needs a parent who doesn't commit fraud and cheat on their spouse. I can't help with that. You're punishing a child. I'm refusing to subsidize your choices. I paused. And I know about the life insurance scheme. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? Kellen told me. The original document, your margin notes, planning to lock in beneficiary rights even after divorce. That's not, he's lying. I have the paperwork, your handwriting, your planning. Eamon, please, I was just protecting myself. You were planning to profit from my eventual end. There's a difference. I never wanted anything to happen to you. Just wanted to make sure you'd benefit if it did. Naturally. Years from now, while looking like the grieving widow. Her breath caught. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. You taught me that at Christmas dinner. I hung up. Then I sat on Mara's bed and stared at my hands and wondered what I'd become. That night, I drove to the grocery store, bought real food, and cooked dinner at my house for the first time in 2 weeks. I ate alone at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chairs where my family used to sit. After, I wrote a check, $5,000. Made it out to a trust account in Mara's name, one I'd set up years ago for her college fund. Added a note, for your future, use it wisely. I mailed it to the address where Blythe was staying with a friend, not because I forgave anything, but because Mara was 16 and none of this was her fault. And maybe somewhere under the cruel, calculating person I'd become, there was still someone who remembered what being kind felt like. Friday arrived cold and bitter. The forecast called for another storm system moving in, the kind that buries New England under 2 feet and shuts down everything for days. I spent the morning finalizing arrangements with my lawyer, divorce paperwork filed, asset protection documents recorded, restraining orders in place, everything legal, everything documented, everything clean. At noon, he called with an update. Kellen Voss was picked up by Maine authorities this morning. They were waiting for him at the border. How'd they know he'd be there? A pause. Someone may have called in an anonymous tip about his vehicle and route. Someone who shall remain unnamed. After hanging up, I felt that familiar cold satisfaction. 3 down, only Blythe remained. The afternoon brought the storm. Snow fell heavy and thick, turning the world white. I sat in my living room watching it accumulate on the lawn, covering footprints and tire tracks, erasing evidence of everything that had happened here. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. This is Sloan. Goodbye, Sloan. Wait, don't hang up, please. Something in her voice made me pause. What? Blythe's falling apart. Completely. She hasn't eaten in 2 days, won't leave her room, just cries and scrolls through old photos. That's unfortunate. She's talking about, Sloane's voice dropped, about ending things, about how everyone would be better off. Is this a threat? Because if you're implying she's a danger to herself, you should call professionals, not her ex-husband. I'm telling you because you're the only one who can stop this. Stop what? The consequences of her actions? You've destroyed her, Eamon. Her career, her reputation, her relationship with her daughter. Are you satisfied now? I thought about that. About whether I was satisfied. No, I said honestly. I thought I would be, but I'm not. I'm just tired. Then stop. Please. Let her rebuild. How? By giving her money? By pretending the last year didn't happen? By letting her slide back into my life like none of this mattered? By being human? By remembering you loved her once? I did love her, and she destroyed that deliberately and methodically. So if she's crying now, if she's scared and alone and facing reality, that's not my problem to solve. She's Mara's mother, and Mara will survive. People survive worse than divorced parents. You've become cruel. I've become realistic. There's a difference. I started to hang up, but Sloane's voice cut through, sharp and desperate. Wait, there's something else, something you should know about Calder. I paused. What about him? He's been to the house, Blythe's temporary place, 3 times this week. Drunk, angry, blaming her for everything, the suspension, the arrest, the impound fees he can't pay. That's between them. He's getting volatile. Yesterday he put his fist through a wall. Mara was there. She locked herself in the bathroom until he left. That made me pause. Did Blythe call the police? No, she's too embarrassed, too afraid of making things worse. She thinks if she just manages him, talks him down, she's an idiot. She's terrified, and Mara's terrified, and I'm calling you because you're the only person who might actually do something about it. Why would I? You just finished telling me I'm cruel and vindictive. Because despite everything, you care about Mara. I saw your face when she apologized to you. You're not as cold as you pretend to be. I closed my eyes. Where are they staying? The Riverside Apartments. Building C, Unit 12, ground floor. If Calder shows up again and threatens them, tell Blythe to call 911, not me, the police. She won't, then that's her choice. I'm done making decisions for her. I hung up, but Sloane's words haunted me through the afternoon, about Mara locking herself in the bathroom, about Calder spiraling, about violence brewing in spaces I used to protect. At 4 o'clock, I drove to the Riverside Apartments. Told myself I was just checking, just making sure the building had adequate security, just being thorough. Building C sat at the edge of the complex, older construction with single-pane windows and exterior stairs. Unit 12 was dark, curtains drawn. I sat in my car watching. Snow fell steadily. A few residents came and went. People carrying groceries, walking dogs, living normal lives. At 4:30, Calder's truck pulled in. Not the impounded one, a different vehicle, older, borrowed or rented. He got out unsteadily, clearly drunk, and walked to Unit 12. He pounded on the door. Blythe, open up. No answer. He pounded again. I know you're in there. We need to talk. A light came on inside. The curtain moved slightly. I said open the door. Calder's voice rose, slurring. I got out of my car. Calder. He turned, swaying. Saw me. His face twisted into something ugly. You did this. All of this. Go home. Sleep it off. You destroyed my life, my career, my reputation, everything. You destroyed your own life by breaking into my house? Twice. Because of her. He pointed at the apartment. She said you'd never notice. Said you were weak. Said we could have it all if I just helped her. Helped her what? Get rid of you. Not permanently. Just make you go away. Make you sign the papers and disappear. He laughed bitterly. But you didn't disappear. You became a nightmare. Inside the apartment, I saw the curtain move again. Mara's face in the window, pale and scared. Leave, Calder. Now. Or I call the police. Call them. I don't care anymore. I've got nothing left to lose. You've got your freedom, for now. You want to add assault to the charges? He took a step toward me. Maybe I do. Maybe I'm tired of being careful. Calder. A new voice. Blythe stood in the doorway, wrapped in a cardigan, looking small and frightened. Please, just go. Not until we talk about what you owe me. I don't owe you anything. You owe me everything. I helped you. I was there when you needed. You were there when it benefited you, I said, just like everyone else in her life. Blythe's eyes met mine. In that look, I saw everything. Regret, fear, resignation. Eamon, please, just let me handle this. Like you handled everything else? Calder moved toward the door. Blythe stepped back inside and tried to close it, but he blocked it with his boot. We're not done talking, he said. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. This is Eamon Hart. I'm at Riverside Apartments, Building C, Unit 12. There's an intoxicated man forcing entry into an occupied apartment. Yes, I'll stay on the line. Calder heard the call, and his face changed. The anger shifted to calculation, then to desperation. You keep calling the cops on me, like I'm some criminal. You keep committing crimes. There's a pattern. He looked at Blythe, then at me, then at his borrowed truck, making a choice. This isn't over, he said, but the fight was gone from his voice. He stumbled to his truck and drove away too fast, fishtailing on the snow-covered pavement. The operator asked if I still needed assistance. I looked at Blythe, standing in the doorway. No, the subject left the scene, but I'd like an incident report filed, for documentation. After hanging up, I walked to the apartment door. Blythe stood blocking the entrance. Thank you, she said quietly. I didn't do it for you. Mara appeared behind her mother. You called the cops on him. He was drunk and forcing entry. That's called a crime. You could have just left. Let us deal with it. I could have. I looked at Mara. But you were scared. And despite everything, I'm not okay with you being scared. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't understand you. 1 minute you're destroying everything, the next you're... I'm protecting you, not your mother. You, there's a difference. Blythe's voice was soft. Can we talk? Please, 5 minutes. I looked at my watch. 3 minutes, out here. She stepped outside, closing the door behind her. We stood in the snow, breath fogging the air. I'm leaving, she said, taking Mara to Oregon after the holidays, starting over. I heard. I'm not asking for anything. The divorce can go through. You can have the house, the properties, everything. I just need you to stop. Please. No more complaints, no more whatever you're doing to make everything worse. I'm not doing anything. I'm existing. The rest is consequences. The foundation called today. They're pursuing legal action, after all, for the discretionary funds, the gifts to Calder. They say it's embezzlement. Is it? She looked away. The line was blurry. The line was clear. You crossed it. I know, and I'll face it. But Mara doesn't deserve to watch her mother go to court. She doesn't deserve any of this. Then you should have thought about that before you cheated, before you conspired with Kellen, before you made me the villain for refusing to be a victim. I'm sorry. Her voice broke. I'm so sorry for all of it. So am I. Can you forgive me someday? I thought about that, about whether forgiveness was possible for the kind of deliberate cruelty she'd inflicted. Maybe, I said, in 10 years, when none of this matters anymore. But not now, not while it's still fresh. She nodded, wiping tears. Will you stay in touch with Mara? She needs... I already sent her college fund a check. Beyond that, it's up to her. If she wants contact, she knows how to reach me, but I won't force it. Thank you. I turned to leave. Eamon? I looked back. You became someone I don't recognize, but I made you that way. I know that now. No, you revealed what I was capable of. There's a difference. I walked to my car and drove away, leaving Blythe standing in the snow outside a borrowed apartment, finally facing consequences without anyone to save her. That evening I drove through the storm to the town square. The community Christmas tree still stood, lights glowing through falling snow. A few people walked past, bundled and hurrying. I sat on a bench near the tree and watched the snow fall, thinking about last Christmas. About sitting at that table. About Blythe pushing me aside. About Mara's cruel words. About the moment everything broke. A year ago, I would have done anything to keep my family intact. Now I'd done everything to dismantle it. My phone buzzed. Text from Blythe. I know you hate me. I know I deserve it. But Mara found the check, and she's asking questions. If you have any kindness left, please talk to her. She needs to hear from you that she didn't cause this. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I drove to the coffee shop where I'd met Mara before. Texted her, I'm here if you want to talk. She arrived 20 minutes later, snow-covered and shaking. Not from cold, from emotion. We sat in the back corner again. She wouldn't look at me. The check, she said finally. Why? Because you're going to need college money. And despite everything, I don't want you to suffer for your mother's choices. She says you're destroying her. She destroyed herself. I just stopped preventing consequences. It feels the same. I know, but it's not. Mara finally looked at me. Her eyes were red. Are you done now? Is this enough? I don't know. Because she can't take anymore. She can't? I thought about Sloane's call, about Blythe breaking down, about whether I cared. What do you want me to do? I asked. Stop, just stop. Let her breathe. Let us figure out how to survive without you standing on our throats. I'm not standing on anyone. I'm defending boundaries. You're crushing people and calling it justice. We sat in silence while snow piled up outside, burying the parking lot. I'm sorry, Mara said quietly. For Christmas. For what I said. For all of it. I know. Does that matter? It matters. But it doesn't fix anything. She stood up. I hope you find whatever you're looking for, because from where I'm sitting, you just look lonely. She walked out into the storm. I sat alone and realized she was right. I'd won every battle, dismantled every threat, protected every asset, and I was completely alone. That night I lay awake in my empty house, listening to wind howl and snow pile up against windows. My phone showed no new messages, no calls, just silence. I'd revoked their access to my life and fortune before dessert, and when they woke up to reality, 35 missed calls. But nobody was calling anymore, because there was nothing left to say. The storm broke Christmas morning. I woke to brilliant sun on deep snow, everything bright and frozen and quiet. My phone showed one new message, sent at 3 a.m. from Blythe. Christmas Eve service tonight at the community church. 7 p.m., Mara's reading. If you ever cared about her, come. I deleted it. Then I restored it from trash and stared at it for an hour. The church was small and historic, one of those white-steepled New England buildings that appeared on postcards. I arrived at 6:30 before the crowd and sat in the back row. Families filtered in, candles were lit, someone played organ music that echoed off old wood and stone. At 6:50, Blythe arrived with Mara. They sat near the front. Blythe looked diminished, thinner, paler, older. Mara looked nervous. Calder appeared at 6:55, standing in the doorway scanning the crowd. He saw me and his jaw tightened. He started toward me. Don't, I said quietly. You have no right to be here. It's a public service. I have every right. You've done enough damage. Mr. Knox. The pastor appeared, elderly and gentle. Please, this is a place of peace. Calder looked at the pastor, then at the crowd watching, then back at me. He walked away, sitting on the opposite side of the church. The service began. Hymns, readings, the familiar rhythms of Christmas Eve worship. When Mara stood to read, her hands shook. She looked at the paper, then out at the congregation, and her eyes found mine. She read Luke chapter 2, the birth story. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. Her voice wavered, but held. When she finished and sat down, Blythe put her arm around her, and I saw Mara lean into her mother like a child seeking shelter. After the service, people filed out into cold night air. I stayed in my pew, letting the crowd thin. Blythe approached slowly. You came? For Mara. Thank you. We stood there, two people who'd promised forever and destroyed it in less than a year. I'm leaving town, she said. After the holidays, taking Mara somewhere new. Fresh start. Where? My sister's in Oregon. She has room. And there's a foundation job opening there. Smaller, quieter, but it's something. Good. I'm not asking for anything. The divorce can proceed. You can have everything. I need to be somewhere people don't know what I did. I nodded. Calder appeared at her elbow, possessive and tense. We should go. In a minute. Now, Blythe, she turned to him. I said in a minute. Something in her voice made him step back. She looked at me again. I'm sorry. For all of it. The affair, the lies, Christmas dinner, everything. You deserved better. Yes, I did. Does that help? Hearing me say it? No. Then what would help? Nothing. Because you can't bring back the old experience. You can't bring back the old humiliated experience. You can't take back telling them they're replaceable, so nothing helps. I just get to live with knowing who you really are. Tears ran down her face. I destroyed the best thing I had. You destroyed the safest thing you had. You never saw me as the best. She opened her mouth, closed it, and walked away. Mara stopped at the door and looked back. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just looked. A long, complicated look that held apology and anger and grief. Then she was gone. I sat alone in the empty church for another hour while the janitor cleaned and locked up around me. Outside, the parking lot was nearly empty. My car sat under a streetlight, snow dusting the windshield. My phone buzzed. Text from Rowan. You okay? Yeah. Want company? No, I'm good. I drove home through silent streets. My house sat dark and unwelcoming, but it was mine. Every lock, every deed, every asset, all mine. I'd left that Christmas dinner silently. I'd revoked their access before dessert. And when they woke up to reality, 35 missed calls that turned to silence. I'd won. But sitting in my empty living room, staring at bare walls and dark windows, victory felt like another word for nothing. I thought about Mara's question. Are you done now? Is this enough? And I realized the answer was yes. Not because I'd forgiven anything, not because the anger was gone, but because there was nothing left to take. No more battles to win. No more ground to claim. I'd become the villain in my own story, calculating and cold, and the cost was everything I'd once cared about. My phone sat silent on the table. No calls, no texts, no voices demanding or pleading or threatening. Just silence. The silence I'd fought so hard to create. And now, alone in the house I'd protected so viciously, I finally understood what I'd been trying to prove. That I mattered. That they couldn't just erase me. That there were consequences for cruelty. I'd proven all of it. And I was alone with the proof. Outside, snow began falling again, covering everything in white. Covering the tracks, the evidence, the history, making it all look clean and new. But underneath, nothing changed. I poured a drink I didn't want, sat in the dark I'd chosen, and thought about what comes after revenge. The answer I discovered was nothing. Just the quiet ruin of everything you burned down to feel powerful. I looked at my phone one last time. 0 missed calls, 0 messages, 0 voices in the dark. I'd left silently that Christmas night, and now silence was all I had left.